Hello, I'm Rico, and welcome to the first episode of Podcast, the podcast about the casting community. Today, we're going to talk about my story and how I got into the cast fetish scene and joining the community overall. So, if you want to know more, keep on listening and enjoy. As I said, welcome to the first ever episode of Podcast. I am really nervous because it's a thing that you don't do daily, talk about those things and record a podcast. So if you don't know me, I'm Rico. I'm 23 years old right now and I am from the Netherlands. So if you're listening this now on Spotify, hello, welcome. If you're watching this on YouTube or any other platform, you can see that I wear an Aircast, and you might be thinking, wait, a podcast is to listen to it? Yes, 100% true, but I always like to view a podcast as well, so for your own pleasure, enjoy the Aircast. And I know people are gonna be like, why not a cast? Because I'm at home, I didn't have the materials with me, so maybe next time. And also, it's the first episode, so don't worry. There will be a lot of casts in the near future. Also, if I'm with friends, I can tell you already, they are gonna wear something, a cast or a brace. Doesn't matter. They have to wear something. So, welcome to Podcast, the podcast about the casting community. So, we're gonna start today with my story because it's very important to know my story first, get to know me a little, and know what I like and how I joined the community and was like, okay, cool, this is really a thing. I'm not crazy. So yeah, I'm a bit nervous. I hope in the next episodes it's going to be easier. Probably it will be. But that's the thing with new things. You need to learn things. Need to make sure everything is going well. So let's go on to the first subject. How it all started. So how it started is actually quite easy for me. I was a little child, always very interested in guests, always grabbed my attention when we were on the street. I always wanted to know what happened, and I think I can speak for a lot of people, they had the same thing. So that's a little bit about me as a younger child, but there's more. There's way more, because when I was 7 or 8 years old, I'm not sure anymore, I had a classmate who broke his leg, actually. And because you're that young, you can hang out and have fun and play games at home and do all type of stuff. And it was really cool because we were hanging out quite a lot. And I was allowed to touch his cast, to make a writing on it, and to draw, the typical things that you would like to do when you're a child and you see someone with a cast. So I was really, really lucky. When we were hanging out, as I said, I can touch his cast and draw on it, write something on it. He also had a wheelchair, so I was able to sit in it, roll around, also use his crutches. When someone breaks his leg or her leg, in my case, it was a he, so his leg, you always want to try the crutches and sit in the wheelchair. And when you're that young, you don't know that there's a whole thing about it, but it's cool and fun. I think every child has it. So when I got a bit older, I was more into like, okay, let's explore a little because I find it still interesting and I want to explore more about it. So I opened my laptop and got to YouTube and I found a lot of things, cool things, I need to say. And that's where it all started because YouTube is big. You can watch a lot of things on it, and I can reassure you, back in my days, I'm now 23 years old, so it's a long time ago. I mean, we're talking about age 10, 11, 12-ish, around that period. YouTube was already there. There were a lot of videos on it, also how to make a cast. And that's where it all started, because those videos got my interest. And I was like, okay, cool. How does it work? How do you make one? I got to the pharmacy and bought myself some bandage wraps and got myself some old socks, cut off the toes. And I was like, okay, let's experiment and let's make casts, because as a child you cannot afford to buy casting material, so you're doing it that way because that's easy, that's fun, and let's explore a little. So that was for me quite cool. Of course, everything has its own things and things that didn't work out as well. And but you need to start somewhere, and I was like, okay, let's explore a little bit further. What can I find more? And yeah, Google was a good place to hang out around. When you find something interesting, you can find a lot of things, and I think that really helped me um, finding a community that also likes the same thing as me. Because as a child, you live with your parents, and of course, my parents found out multiple times, and then you're like, oh shit, why? But I need to say, eventually, after a long time, you get to know the little tricks and know how to get around it. But yeah, when your parents find out, you need to make up a story. And that wasn't always that easy because you're 10, 11, 12 years old. You live under their rules and they don't expect lying. So those days were rough. I'm now a bit older, still living at my parents' place, but I need to say, after years went by, they forget. And, you can do things more easily without getting caught because, you know the ways to avoid those things. But yeah. So after a long time, I was 15 years old, I believe. And that's when I found out there was a Facebook community. And then you may be thinking, how did you find out? Because back in the day, it wasn't that easy to find those things. But I mean, like in these times with Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, you can find things quite easily. And I think that's a good thing because you can join a community quicker than you used to back in the day. But how I got to know there was a Facebook community was through YouTube. So I watched a guy on YouTube, and in his description, with a link to his Facebook, I clicked on the link, and then I found out I need an account. I was 15 years old. That wasn't possible for my age, but I got a workaround, and I joined the Facebook community. So that's actually where we're gonna stop right now about how it all started, because we're gonna talk next about the community. But first of all, I want to say something very important. If you're liking this and want to know more, please reach out to me. You can do it, I believe, on Spotify. You can ask questions through Spotify, the Q&A feature. I believe it's working. I'm not sure because I cannot test it right now because I'm recording. In Facebook, slide in the DMs, RicoCast. It's very easy. Also on Instagram, Rico_cast. You'll find me. Slide in the DMs, ask me a question. Also on YouTube, put it down in the comments and have fun, And maybe you find other casters as well and they can help you out. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is joining the community, because that's a whole story on its own. So let's go on. So joining the community was quite easy because I found it on YouTube through a link. I looked it up for you guys. I joined Facebook in July of 2015. I was 15 years old back in the day. And I sent the guy who I found on YouTube a friend request, and he accepted, and I was like, cool. And then I looked in his profile and his friends list. It's like, okay, it was a little bit strange at first because you send someone a chat and it's like, hey, how are you? But there comes a point, I need to say that first, everyone was really, really kind, but also you're gonna be asked about your age. And I said, not knowing anything about the world yet, 15. that's where it stopped because people were like, "Oh, that's too young." So, um, I was like, "Okay, I need to build a profile because you want to get more friends and to talk with people, so you need to gain their trust." So I was like, "Okay, grab those old socks that I got off the toes, make some bandaged wrap casts, and took pictures of it, posted it on Facebook, and people were reacting to it, and I was like, okay, cool, people are liking this, so I'm not crazy. That's a great thing, that's how it all starts. People were reaching out eventually, and I had some really good chats. Yeah. And then you are 16 years old, and then you're like, okay, cool. Now I'm a year on Facebook, and I want now a real cast, just a cast. And I was chatting with a Belgium guy for a really long time. And he said to me, I want to help you out, but you need to be 18 because it's not a good thing to meet someone under 18 years old. The day I didn't get that because I was 16 years old, Um, I did not know what to expect. But now I'm 23 years old and I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. I do actually the same thing now as well. So I chatted with a lot of people, made some more content on Facebook, and then I was like, okay, years go by. My parents called me multiple times with that Facebook account, and I still have the same account. So somehow I managed to keep it and do it. And then I turned 18 years old. And it was quite cool because I was like, okay, cool. I was still talking with the same Belgium guy. And I said, okay, cool. I'm now 18 years old. Can we meet up? And he said, sure. And I was like, okay, cool. How we're gonna do this because I don't know anything about it, and that's where I asked so many casters advice. What's a great cast to start with? Because you know what they say, go big or go home. But I was like, okay, I want to start small with a little cast and build up eventually when I get older, because then you can look forward to something. And yeah, that's what I did. We talked a little bit more, and when I got 18, I realized a little bit more why people didn't want to meet up at first, because this with everything, and now these days, it's getting worse, I guess. So social media was back then quite new, I believe. It wasn't as popular as it is now. Everybody has an Instagram, everybody has TikTok these days. But the thing why you cannot meet up with someone under 18 is just because there are people with good intentions and people with bad intentions. And I need to say, I wasn't really aware of that at first because, I'm young, I'm naive, and now I get it. And when I turned 18, I was like, okay, cool. I got an explanation. And actually, the Belgium guy explained it really, really well. He said, people can help, but people also can use you. And that's not a fun thing. When I was 18, I was already gay. So for a long time, I didn't have a sexual thing on it, because I was struggling myself with finding out what I liked and stuff. So I believe when I was 16, yeah, I believe November 2016 or something, um, I came out of the closet. But that's for a whole other episode. Then I realized that there are people using you. And at first you're like, oh, cool, people are asking more from you, not knowing that they use it for sexual things. I got to know that when I was 16, 17 years old. So when I turned 18, I totally got it, and I was very, very happy that he still wanted to talk with me, trust me. And then we met up, and I need to say, I was so damn nervous, but when you're doing things for the first time, that's the same as with this podcast. You get nervous doing things for the first time, and that's fun. That's That's what makes fun. But also, that's what the whole thing is about, doing things for the first time, doing things that you can explore. And I need to say that I'm very happy that I found out I liked it and joined the community. The whole road to joining the community, I'm very happy that it was in that way, that it was like this and not anything else. Also, it could have gone horribly wrong. Let's be real. And I'm very happy that it was a safe place for me, and that I can now say, well, it's all in the past, that it was a great experience joining, exploring, get to know people all over the world, because it's not only in the Netherlands or in the USA, it's also in Belgium, Germany, France. So yeah, I think it's really, really fun. And I can say that my experience with the caster community has been awesome, still is awesome. And from the start, I felt really, really welcome. And even now in 2023, it feels still like a place that you can call home. I made a lot of friends. And these days we don't use Facebook anymore as much as it used to, because Instagram is a big platform now too. And with everyone, that is a bit the thing. So yeah, I think you can join everywhere these days, and if you are nice to people, they will be nice to you, and they can help you and want to help you. But don't be pushy, because I learned that the hard way. Don't push, because people don't like it. And I think that's where this episode is gonna be ending. It's a quick one, I believe. I think it's not even 15 minutes, but I think my story has been told, from a young boy who finds it really, really interesting. And it got my attention to go online, explore, find a community, join it, make some new friends, and meet up. It's awesome, and I hope that you enjoy this first episode, and I hope that it's going to be really, really fun the next few episodes. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate and ask me. You can use the Q&A function on Spotify. You can ask it in the YouTube comments. Slide in my DMs on Instagram, Rico_cast. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and on to episode 2. And if you were watching it, I hope you enjoyed this too. Let me know on YouTube what you thought of it and what I can do better, if I need to move a little bit more, because I was a bit nervous, so I probably didn't move as much. But yeah, in the coming episodes, I won't be alone. I will have some friends come over and talk, and they can tell their story. So if you want to know things, not only from me, but also from other casters, leave them. And I hope you really enjoyed this one, and I see you guys next time, I guess. Thanks so much for listening or watching Podcast, the podcast about Cast Fetish. I am your host, Rico Cast. You can follow me on Instagram and OnlyFans, Rico_cast. Follow us also on Instagram, Podcast, the podcast about casting. Thanks so much for listening or watching, and I'll see you guys next time.